Hello, students. Welcome to this academic work about to compare and contrast in English. So today you will learn, hoy día aprenderán, how to, cómo compare and contrast in English. Comparar y contrastar. Vamos aprendiendo entonces, tomando lápiz y papel, si necesitan tomar apuntes. Here we go. Okay, when I want to compare two elements, for example, a football, a football ball, a soccer ball, a tennis ball, I have to look for the similarities or the elements in common. Okay, when I want to compare two elements, I look for the similarities. For example, I want to compare a computer and a cell phone. Okay, I can compare a computer and a cell phone saying that a computer is better in the access to internet. Or I can compare, for example, saying cell phones are better to communicate than a computer, but they have in common that you can go access to internet and you can communicate. Esas son las similitudes que tienen ambos elementos. Entonces, to compare, I look for the similarities. Caso contrario, to contrast two elements. Si yo quiero contrastar two elements, I look for the differences or for the elements that are not in common. Todo lo contrario, las diferencias busco para contrastar. Look, for example, if I want to contrast a computer and a cell phone, if I want to contrast the computer and the cell phone, qué diferencias podría notar? A ver. For example, to contrast, I can say that a computer is heavy to transport, es pesado, is heavy to transport or heavy to carry. To compare or to contrast, a cell phone is light to carry, es muy liviano de llevar. Entonces, to contrast, I have to see the differences of the elements. Resumiendo, to compare and contrast a computer and a cell phone, for example, the similarity is that they have access to internet. So I can say, I compare a computer to a cell phone saying that computers have faster access to internet. Puedo entonces comparar diciendo que a computer has fastest access to internet. Tiene un acceso más rápido a internet, ya que como similitud ambos tienen acceso a internet. Pero yo desde eso puedo comparar. On the contrary, when you contrast, al contrario, cuando contrastas, you look for the differences. For example, a computer is very, very heavy to transport. On the contrary, a cell phone is very, very light to transport. Let's look at another example. For example, Huawei and iPhone. What are the similarities they have in common to compare? And what are the differences? Let's look, for example, I can compare Huawei and iPhone because they are mobile phone. So I can compare, I can say iPhone is more popular mobile phone than Huawei mobile phone. I can compare. And I contrast saying the differences are in the prices. Huawei is low price, costo muy bajo. On the contrary, iPhone is very, very high price. Entonces, similarities, they are cell phone. I can compare from that. Lo puedo comparar desde ahí. Contrastes, las diferencias, the prices. Si todavía tienes duda, te invito a que hagas self-learning, que hoy en día está muy de moda, autoaprendizaje, and go to tutorials about compare and contrast. Y veas la infinidad de tutoriales sobre compare and contrast. Te invito a que puedas también ir incorporando esa estrategia. To continue, vamos a Google Classroom. Aquí está la clave para ingresar a Google Classroom. Y aquí está la actividad en trabajos académicos. Mira, das clic acá, Compare and Contrast Activity. And the activity is very simple. Compare and contrast in English. Su nombre, la instrucción acá está dada. Compare, similarities, and contrast, differences, to apps from the list. Acá tienen 12 apps. ¿Y qué quiero que hagan? For example, compare YouTube and Netflix. I want to compare, voy a comparar las similitudes de YouTube and Netflix y voy a contrastar las diferencias que tienen. Eso es lo que quiero que hagan. Compare and contrast. Dos apps de acá. Y apliquen esto, ¿cierto? De compare cuando buscamos las similarities and contrast cuando buscamos las differences. No olvidar dar clic acá arribita donde tengo el cursor. No lo ven acá, obviamente porque yo estoy de mi sesión de profe, pero cuando ustedes ingresen como alumnos acá va a aparecer entregar. Dar clic ahí, por favor, en entregar para terminar la actividad. Eso. Espero sus trabajos. Insisto, vean tutoriales o me escriben al correo si tienen alguna duda. Tienen una semana de vigencia, chicos. Bye, bye.